Another loaded show coming your way on today's Philadelphia Eagles Now by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Sr., but before we start, you know what I need you to do. Go on down, hit that subscribe button. Yeah, you see it right there. If you want daily Philadelphia Eagles coverage, this is your go-to spot, and I'm your go-to host. We're on that road to 100,000 subscribers. We're over 95K, and I promise you, if you hit that sub button, you will not regret that decision. What we're discussing on today's show: Eagles fans getting some exciting news on Brandon Graham. There are two Eagles defensive players who could win Defensive Player of the Year. Considering how bad the Eagles were last year on that side of the ball, you never thought that was going to be a reality going into 2024. And I also want to talk about one under-the-radar Eagles rookie who's turning heads and nobody's talking about. But let's begin with BG, Eagles team captain, Philadelphia City legend, Eagles legend, Super Bowl 52 champion and hero. Could he return this season? Very interesting. He tore his triceps in that November Sunday Night Football game against the Los Angeles Rams. And when he suffered that injury, you're thinking, there's no way BG is going to be able to come back, especially when the injury happened. His age, being in his mid-30s, and the mileage on the tires, he underwent surgery, and at the time, he was expected to be out for the year. But he was asked this week during his radio spot on 94 WIP, where he made headlines last week, if he could return this year, and he left the door open. Seemingly, he's optimistic that if the Eagles make it to the Super Bowl, we might get to see 55 in uniform. Here's a direct quote: "Anything is possible. That's how I'm going to feel. Just know that we're working, trying to see what happens. We got to get there. I guess I'll be ready to tell you when we get there." Brandon Graham, of note, has also discussed the possibility of returning next year. He had said when he signed that one-year deal with Philadelphia this past offseason, this is going to be his 15th and final season. Then he walked back on that a few months ago, and then after the injury, he left the door ajar for him to come back for a 16th year. And Eagles defensive coordinator Vic Fangio, who has done a terrific coaching job this year, one of the top overall coaching jobs in the NFL, not just head coaches or coordinators, all coaches in the NFL. He said this about BG after that injury: he was playing so well, he can't retire on an incomplete year. He pretty much said, I'm not going to let BG call it quits. We need him back in 2025. I think that he'd be down, and I think that Howie Roseman would be down, especially factoring in how this season ended. Graham in 2024, he was playing awesome football, making impactful plays as a pass rusher and as a run defender. Overall Pro Football Focus grade of 78.6, run defense grade of 80.1, a pass rush grade of 71.8. He had 3.5 sacks, 20 pressures, 13 hurries, 3 quarterback hits on 169 pass rush snaps, and obviously his impact goes far beyond the box score. But even within the box score, sometimes his game, and I'm talking more about culture and leadership, him being a vet, but also just the way that he plays, the attention that he demands, and the plays that he can disrupt and make, even if it's not a tackle, a sack, a quarterback hit, a hurry, or a pressure, impacts the game as a whole. And luckily, even though Brandon Graham suffered that torn triceps, that injury hasn't hurt Philadelphia's defense and their pass rush too bad, because when that injury happened, I was a little bit concerned. But what have we seen? We have seen some players rebound. We've seen some players take huge leaps, and we've seen these young players really develop before our very eyes. Josh Sweat, his career high for sacks was back in 2022 when the Eagles made it to the Super Bowl. He has 8, opportunity to set a new career high. Nolan Smith, he has 5.5 sacks. What a year he's having in his second season. Milton Williams, contract year, he could get paid, and because of that, might not be able to return to Philadelphia. He has 5 sacks. That's third on the team. Jalen Carter, he gets double-teamed on the regular. Still's been able to make his way to the quarterback, 4.5, and he's been better than what his numbers show. Brandon Graham with those 3.5. So he's missed a couple of games here, yet he's still 5th on the team in sacks. Zack Baun, Nakobe Dean with 3.5 and 3 respectively. Bryce Huff, 2.5. Eagles open up his practice window on Wednesday. Jalyx Hunt, a sack and a half. The rookie playing good ball. And then Jordan Davis with the sack as well. Philadelphia as a team, by the way, in case you're wondering, back in 2022, they were number 1 in the league in sacks with 70. That was 15 more than any other team. Last year, they were not good as far as pressure rate, sack rate, and overall sack numbers. This year, back in the top 10. 10th to be specific among 32 teams. They have 39 team sacks. The Broncos number 1 in the league with 49. That puts that 70 number from 2022 up there as like so impressive. I mean, Denver, number 1 in the NFL with 49 sacks. They're not going to get close to the 70 sacks that Philadelphia had in 2022. Nobody came close last year either. Now, what this comes down to, in order for Brandon Graham to get back, going back to that and circling back to it, Eagles got to take care of business. And in order for Brandon Graham to return this season, the Eagles have to get to the Super Bowl. And the easiest pathway to accomplish that is if Philadelphia gets the number 1 seed. And here's how they can clinch it with 3 weeks left to go. If the Eagles win out at Washington, home against Dallas, and home against New York, that'll do them wonders. Then they'll need the Lions to lose at least 1 game at Chicago, at San Francisco, home against Minnesota. The Vikings need to lose at least 1 game. They beat Chicago on Monday night. This upcoming week at Seattle, against Green Bay, at Detroit. So the Lions, Vikings, they need to lose at least 1. Philadelphia needs to win out, and that's how the Birds can have home field advantage rocking through Lincoln Financial Field. Let's get together our prayer circle. If you want BG to return and the Eagles to make it to the Super Bowl, I want you to hit that thumbs up icon, like the video. Don't jinx it. You better like the video right now. As for our sponsor for today's Eagles Now, we love the tush push here in the city of brotherly love, but we also love Tushy. And you can save big on Tushy right now by going to hellotushy.com/chat. Holiday season is coming up. You want the perfect gift? Is it selfish or brilliantly anti-capitalist to gift your one true love something that also benefits you? You don't want somebody to be stinky and dirty down there. When it's a bidet, everybody wins because the gift of a clean booty keeps giving for life. And I imagine that Cam Jurgens is using this, given how much Jalen Hurts is under center for that tush push. Holiday gifting 101. Why drop 2 or 3 Benjis on a cooler that'll get used some of the time when you can spend a fraction of that cost on a bidet that your whole household will use all the time? 'Tis the season for uncomfortable family dinners. Now's the time to upgrade your only escape hatch from that table by installing a soothing, refreshing bidet in your bathroom. A household full of holiday guests is a beautiful thing until you realize they're all endlessly wiping in your bathroom. Aunt Marianne, what are you doing in there? It'll be a lot quicker of an experience if she has a bidet, and she won't stink. Give your toilet a fighting chance by installing a Tushy bidet today. If it's 95% of toilets, it's fresh as tap water, 8.5 minutes of do-it-yourself install. I'm a handyman. I put it together very quickly in less than that, and there's no outlet needed. So right now, Tushy Bidet dropping deep discounts on bidet life essentials. Give the gift of practical luxury that benefits everybody in your household. Go to hellotushy.com/chat. That's hellotushy.com/chat for the best gift this holiday season. We move forward on today's show. Could Jalen Carter or Zack Baun win Defensive Player of the Year? If Aiden Hutchinson of the Lions had stayed healthy, the award was probably his to lose. If Fred Warner didn't suffer a broken ankle in his ankle in week 4, he's played every game since then, probably would have won that award potentially. This award is up for grabs, and there's a case to be made that Jalen Carter or Zack Baun could win DPOY. First, in scouting Jalen Carter this year, Jalen Carter is a physical freak. He is a menace. He demands so much attention from the opposition, And when opposing offenses are putting their game plan together, it's getting to a point where they have to identify where number 98 is on every single snap. He bullies offensive linemen with a variety of moves, whether it's a swim move, it's a bull rush, or he's able to use his speed, agility, and explosion to split offensive linemen. He's been good against the run, excellent against the pass. He's the anchor of this Philadelphia Eagles defensive line, and I don't think the stats do him justice. His impact goes far beyond the box score. All you have to do is turn on the tape, and you are able to see that Jalen Carter is causing absolute destruction and chaos. He has emerged into one of the most dominant players in the entire National Football League, and he could go down as one of the top Eagles defensive linemen in the history of football. As for Zack Baun, one of the best value deals of Howie Roseman's career. They got him on a vet min, and along with Carter, he's been the MVP of this Eagles defense. He's making plays everywhere. He was not an off-ball coverage linebacker throughout his entire career up to this point. That's a credit to Howie Roseman. It's a credit to Vic Fangio for utilizing him in that way. But he's awesome in pass coverage, great range, great instincts, great feel. Vic Fangio uses him as a blitzer to apply pressure, uses him as a fake blitzer to try to confuse the quarterback. He's really good against the run. I mean, he just makes plays all over the yard. And we're having this conversation because ESPN, both with Dan Graziano and Jeremy Fowler, mentioned Carter and Baun as dark horses to win Defensive Player of the Year. Here's what Graziano had to say. My favorite sleeper, whose name is starting to come up among the top defensive players in the league, is Jalen Carter. It's probably too soon for him to win it this season, but I wouldn't be surprised if he became a fixture in these discussions in future seasons, maybe as early as next year. And then Jeremy Fowler said this about Baun. Carter is a great call. He gets constant double teams and fights through holding plays that aren't called. The Eagles have dozens of examples of that. When you get under-officiated, that means that you're a disruptor in the middle. And the Eagles have another sleeper contender, linebacker Zack Baun, who has 3.5 sacks, 4 forced fumbles, and 9 TFLs. Carter's numbers here this year, it's been awesome. Overall PFF grade, 75.9, 16th among 214 interior defensive linemen, has a pass rush grade of 83.2. That's 4th at the position. Run defense grade of 59. That's 67th. He has 11 quarterback hits. That's 4th. He has 32 hurries. That's 7th. He has 48 pressures. That's 7th. He has 5 batted passes. That's an underrated element of his game. That's 2nd. He has 722 snaps. That's 3rd. He has 4.5 sacks. That's 21st. He'd have more if he wasn't held all the time. And what about those holds? That's limited his numbers a little bit, but that speaks to his physical dominance. And then there's Zack Baun. Overall PFF grade of 89.8. That is 3rd at the linebacker spot. Coverage grade, number 1 among all linebackers. We have not seen linebacker play like this since Jeremiah Trotter. He's better than TJ Edwards was. That's 1st, 91.4. You kidding me? Good against the run, 72.5 grade there. Pass rush grade, 66.6. That's still in the green. And his sacks among off-ball linebackers, not edge rushers, 4 of them. That's 4th in the league. Let's round out with this. Jalyx Hunt, the rookie out of Houston Christian, 3rd-round pick, who was a reach at the time, in my opinion, has ended up developing into a really good player. He has a lot of promise, a lot of potential, and he's really impressed me this year. He plays with speed, physicality, pursuit, and drive. In his extended debut against Baltimore, 2 tackles, a half sack, and then against Carolina, he had 4 tackles. He had a sack earlier in the year against the New York Giants. Good bend, good get off. He's made some plays against the run. He can drop back in coverage a little bit. And for him being the 94th overall pick in April's draft, he's a little bit overshadowed with how well Quinyon Mitchell has played. He's the odds-on favorite to win Rookie of the Year defensively. And then how good Cooper DeJean has been as one of the top slot and overall corners in the league. But look out for Jalyx Hunt. As he gets more snaps and as his career progresses, he was a safety at Cornell a few years ago. So this is a developmental project who's developing very quickly and developing into a really good player. Before we dip on out of here, be sure to give me a follow. I'm on X and Instagram at Chase_Senior. I put out so much Eagles content here on YouTube, but also on my social media pages.